In our 10th year together, a love story that started in high school blossomed into marriage, only for me to discover my husband, Daniel, was cheating on me with a female subordinate from his company. I didn't cry or make a scene. I just calmly showed him a positive pregnancy test. Daniel was ecstatic. He held me and swore he would never betray me again. We lived in peace until our daughter finally turned 2. That's when a video of Daniel and a new company intern sharing a passionate kiss on the big screen at an overseas concert suddenly went viral. This time, I still didn't argue or scream. I just quietly transferred the final payment to the camera crew and the online PR team. My assets and my daughter. I wasn't going to lose either of them. The first time I discovered Daniel was cheating was 3 years ago. I found a hotel receipt in his coat pocket. The date was from when I was on a business trip. The room type was a king-size bed. I booked it for a client, he explained, his face a perfect mask. It was a clumsy lie. No CEO of a major corporation would personally book a hotel for a client. But I didn't call him out on it. The next day, I used the excuse of bringing afternoon tea to visit his office. In the break room, I ran into a secretary from the finance department. She deliberately adjusted her collar in front of me, revealing a fresh, ambiguous red mark on her collarbone, and a Cartier necklace identical to the one Daniel had given me for our 10th anniversary. Mrs. Hayes. She bent over to put down her cup, the necklace swinging gently. What a coincidence. This is my favorite brand, too. Is that so? We have such similar taste, I said, forcing a smile while my fingers dug into my palms. I practically fled. It wasn't just the necklace, the diamond watch on her wrist, the scent of her perfume, the length and color of her hair. It was likely that even the man was the same. That night, as the sound of the shower trickled from the bathroom, I checked Daniel's phone for the first time in 10 years. In his photo gallery, a picture of that girl wearing my silk slip, her eyes hazy with desire as she lay in our master bedroom, stung my eyes. The date was from last week, when I had gone to my parents for the weekend. I opened his messages, flirtatious texts, hotel booking confirmations, receipts for luxury goods, and the most fatal blow of all, chat logs with a divorce lawyer. If we start transferring assets now, can we be sure she won't find out? He had asked. 10 years of history, and he wouldn't even grant me a dignified end. That night, I lay with my back to him, biting my lip until it bled, forcing back the tears. The next morning, I threw away my birth control pills and went to the hospital for an ovulation induction shot. During the busiest year of Daniel's career, I had suffered a miscarriage. He was racked with guilt for not taking care of me, holding me as he cried and promised we would be child-free so I would never have to suffer the pain of childbirth again. He didn't know that I had already seen his medical reports stating he had a low sperm count. He knew perfectly well the miscarriage was due to poor embryo quality. Because I loved him, I never exposed his lie and willingly took birth control for years. But after seeing him through from obscurity to the CEO of a publicly traded company, after giving up my own promotion and overseas assignment for him, how could I be willing to just hand him over to someone else? I beat him to the punch. I converted all our liquid assets into insurance policies, mutual funds, real estate, and even gold and Bitcoin. When Daniel discovered this and stormed home in a rage, I calmly laid my cards on the table. On one end of the dining table were the proofs of his affair. On the other was my early pregnancy diagnosis. I was betting that he, the only son in his family, wouldn't give up what might be his only chance at fatherhood. I won. After a brief, stunned silence, Daniel was overcome with joy. I'm going to be a dad. He jumped up, looking like a little boy. Then he fell to his knees, wrapping his arms around my waist and pressing his face against my flat stomach. Charlotte, forgive me this one time. I swear I'll be a good father. Just give me some time to sort this out. I will never betray you again for the rest of my life. Daniel didn't come home that night. He was out, cleaning up his mess. Everything seemed to be settled. I had gotten what I wanted. Yet I cried into my pillow all night. My marriage, my love. In the end, I could only hold on to them through calculated schemes. This chapter of our marriage came to an abrupt end. I never saw that girl again. Whether she was fired or transferred, I didn't care. Life returned to normal. Daniel seemed no different than before. Perhaps it was the novelty of becoming a father. Or perhaps it was guilt. He became even more attentive and doting than before. He accompanied me to every prenatal check-up. He booked me into the most expensive postpartum care center. He even signed the unequal contract I had drafted. In the event of a divorce, I would get full custody of the child and 70% of our assets. After our daughter, Maya, was born, he insisted on being hands-on with everything, no matter how busy he was. Everyone said he was a good father and a good husband. But as the saying goes, a leopard can't change its spots. The peace only lasted for 2 years. For our daughter's second birthday, we threw a party at our country villa. Many of Daniel's colleagues were there. I carried a platter of sliced cake upstairs, intending to bring some to Daniel, who had gone up to take a work call. From the slightly ajar door of the nursery, I heard suppressed moans that did not belong to a child. Gently, I recognized the voice of the new company intern, Sophia. She was like a fresh, dewy lily, personally mentored by Daniel. Through the crack in the door, I saw Daniel's tall frame completely enveloping the petite Sophia in a corner. One hand was braced against the wall, the other gripping her waist as he kissed her deeply. Sophia was on her tiptoes, reciprocating, her slender arms wrapped around his neck. The afternoon sun illuminated Sophia's blissfully closed eyes and Daniel's enraptured profile. It was an expression I knew so well, one that had once belonged to me in the night. "You want it, don't you? You little tramp. I'll come find you tonight," Daniel whispered in her ear, nibbling on her earlobe. My fingers trembled, and a smudge of frosting from the plate's edge smeared onto the back of my hand. Cold and sticky, my heart felt like it was being squeezed and twisted. The sudden rush of blood from my head made my vision go black. I bit my lip hard, slowly and silently backing away. Leaning against the cold wall, I took a deep breath. The sounds of my daughter's laughter and the guests' chatter from downstairs washed over me like a tide. I raised my hand and, with slow, deliberate force, wiped the glaring white frosting from my skin, wiping away the filthy stain. When I looked up again, the storm in my eyes had been forcibly suppressed, leaving only a calm surface. I smoothed my dress and went downstairs as if nothing had happened. After the party, Daniel, as expected, found an excuse about working late to leave. "So busy lately." I leaned against the doorway, my fingers tracing a lipstick smudge on his shirt collar, either intentionally or accidentally left there. A new Chanel shade, a peachy pink. Far too young a color for me to wear, but I didn't point it out to him. "We have to rush the financing plan for the new project." Daniel bent down to change his shoes. When he looked up, his expression was normal. He even took a moment to kiss my cheek. "Once this busy period is over, I'll take you and the baby to Hokkaido to see the snow and soak in the hot springs." I lowered my eyes and pressed my lips together. My heart felt like it had been doused in ice, frozen tight. I let out a nearly imperceptible sneer. When I looked up again, my eyes were filled with a perfectly calibrated smile. "Okay," I said peacefully. Finding Sophia's social media wasn't difficult, but in recent years, Daniel had become increasingly cautious in his high-powered position, walking on thin ice. She certainly wouldn't dare leave any traces on domestic social media platforms, remembering she had studied abroad. I found her Instagram account with little effort. Her latest post was from half an hour ago, a candlelit dinner, the kind young girls love. On the other side of the table rested a hand with well-defined knuckles, even without the wedding ring. I recognized it. I had held that hand for over a decade. Scrolling down, there was a sweet selfie of her, with the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Grand Hyatt in the background. Daniel had been on a business trip in Shenzhen for a full week, staying there. The most ironic part was that every night, from that same viewpoint, he would video call me and our daughter, playing the part of the good husband and father. 2 months ago, she posted a photo of their intertwined hands, a familiar watch band visible on the man's wrist. The caption read, "Time only began to have meaning after I met you." The love Sophia was showing off was about what I had expected. They had been together for 3 months, right in the thick of their shameless head over heels phase. Girls who have lived abroad can be quite open. She even posted after sex photos. Though key parts were censored, you could still tell how passionate and intense the encounter had been. I swallowed my disgust and scrolled through everything, finding only one useful piece of information. She had posted screenshots of 2 concert tickets for the following week. The location was overseas, a country in the southern hemisphere that Daniel had casually mentioned a few days ago, saying he had a week-long business trip there. My heart felt like it was submerged in ice water. Every beat a dull, heavy ache. 8 years of marriage, 13 years of our lives together. Countless days I had spent cooking for him, caring for his sick parents. The tears in his eyes the first time our daughter called him Dada. These fragments flashed before my eyes, only to be shattered by his latest betrayal. In the next room, my daughter mumbled something in her sleep. I snapped back to reality and hurried to her small bed. She was sleeping with rosy cheeks and a sweet smile on her face. Tears suddenly welled up, streaming down my face, the salty taste of despair on my lips. I covered my mouth, afraid of waking her, but my body wouldn't stop shaking. For the trust that had been trampled, for my daughter's potentially shattered fairy tale, and for the foolish part of me that had once believed in love until death. The city lights burned brightly outside the window. After a long time, my emotions finally subsided. I wiped the wetness from my face. When I looked up again, my eyes were clear, washed clean by tears, leaving an almost cold lucidity. There's a common saying online about the reality of middle-aged couples. 0 communication during the day, 0 intimacy at night, glued to their phones, life devoid of any sense of occasion. By comparison, apart from sharing a bed with different dreams, Daniel and I seemed to be doing all right, even if he had his flings on the side. Our daughter was still his only biological child. For her sake, he wouldn't bring that filth into our home. Besides, we had the agreement. If we divorced, 70% of the assets and our daughter would be mine. If he had any sense, he wouldn't divorce me. I swallowed my grievances. My daughter needed a complete family, a childhood with both parents. I was willing to play the part of the model couple for the outside world. I never expected Daniel to be the one to bring it up. The next evening, he dropped our daughter off at his parents' and took me to the restaurant we used to frequent when we were dating. I naively thought he felt guilty, that he was ready to return to our family and mend our relationship. But just as the appetizer arrived, he placed a set of divorce papers on the table and pushed them towards me. Charlotte, let's get a divorce. At that moment, I was still basking in the happy thought that our marriage had a chance to recover. His words froze the smile on my face. I don't love you anymore, Charlotte. I knew he hadn't loved me for a long time. I had been telling myself to lower my expectations. I was prepared for it, even for a day when we would sleep in separate rooms or share a bed like strangers. Like a passionless monk and a tranquil nun. I could tolerate that. I was in my 30s, still relatively young. But love was no longer the center of my life. The arrival of a child, the pressure of work, the trivialities of daily life. I thought Daniel and I had the same unspoken understanding. I never expected him to ask for a divorce. What about our daughter? The only things Daniel cared about now were his reputation, his wealth, and his daughter. I didn't believe he had the courage to give her up. But in the next second, don't worry, I'll keep my promise. According to the agreement, 70% of our shared assets and custody of our daughter will go to you. I stared at Daniel's handsome, refined face. The first emotion that surfaced wasn't sadness, but a sense of absurdity. How unbearable must I be that he would rather give up the fortune he had worked so hard to build and his only daughter, just to escape me. You have someone else. Who is she? That she's worth you abandoning your wife and child without a second thought. At this point, there was no need to pretend everything was fine. Daniel didn't answer directly. He sighed, looking at me, his eyes filled with nothing but exhaustion. Charlotte, I actually thought about separating 3 years ago, but then you got pregnant, and I couldn't do it. You're a good person. You take great care of the house, my parents, the baby, and me. But life with you is just too suffocating. With her, I feel a sense of relaxation I've never had before. I remembered the shopping list Sophia had posted on Instagram. Lingerie, adult toys, aphrodisiacs, all laid out, with her openly sharing reviews. A girl like that was probably far more irresistible to a man than a dull, middle-aged wife like me. Watching the longing in Daniel's eyes as he spoke of her, I suddenly thought of the girl I had driven away 3 years ago. It turned out Daniel was never short on love. His love just never lasted. His love was a consumable. his passion always fleeting. He would quickly grow bored, annoyed, and tired. It was a cycle. I swallowed the bitterness in my throat and forced a smile. Fine. I'll sign the papers when you get back from your business trip. The frown on Daniel's forehead relaxed. Thank you for letting me go, Charlotte. As for financial compensation, feel free to ask for whatever you want. I just shook my head. 13 years of my prime. I had given everything. What amount would be enough? Since Daniel had made this choice for a woman, for the rest of his life, I wanted him to crave everything and have nothing. A meticulous plan quickly took shape. I worked in the media industry myself, with almost no effort. I bribed the concert's production team. On the day of the concert, they were to ensure that Daniel and Sophia appeared on the main stage's big screen for at least 15 seconds, with their faces clearly captured. I also contacted an online PR team and hundreds of marketing accounts, preparing press releases in advance to ensure the video would go viral across Chinese social media within an hour of the concert's end. The following week was quiet. Daniel deliberately cut back on his work and social engagements, probably wanting to create some final memories with his daughter. He even took me and Maya to see a new children's play. I also pretended to be calm, continuing to wear my gentle mask, playing the part of a loving couple in front of our daughter. Perhaps my delay in signing the papers made Sophia anxious. She started sending me photos of her and Daniel together every day. They traveled together, had dinner together, walked their dog together. She even sent explicit photos of them in bed. Hundreds of photos. And in every single one, Daniel's expression was filled with tender affection. A dull ache spread through my chest. Daniel had once looked at me with that same look of deep love. She openly provoked me. Daniel says the sight of you makes him lose his appetite. Don't you have any dignity? Why are you still clinging to him? Refusing to divorce. She insulted me, calling me old and ugly. She called my daughter a worthless burden. I didn't go tattling to Daniel. I quietly endured it. It was just the desperate lashing out of a young girl. No big deal. She was handing me all the evidence of Daniel's affair on a silver platter. I should have been thanking her. I secretly compiled all the evidence and contacted the best divorce lawyer to prepare for a lawsuit. I wanted more than just 70% of his assets. I wanted him to leave with nothing. As for Sophia, since she loved Daniel so much, I was sure she would be willing to stand by him through thick and thin after he was disgraced and penniless. When the video of Daniel and Sophia kissing at the overseas concert hit the trending topics, I was in the nursery, reading a picture book to my daughter. Daniel's name flashed on my phone screen again and again. His last-ditch effort. The video has been shared over 1 million times. A message from the PR team lead came in. As per your request, we captured Mr. Hayes' wedding ring on his ring finger. I turned off my daughter's bedside lamp and opened my browser in the dark. On the concert's main screen, the camera captured Daniel and Sophia in a sweet embrace. Amidst the cheers of the crowd, Daniel opened his eyes to see his own face on the big screen. Shock, horror, the blood draining from his face. Instinctively, Daniel pushed Sophia away, covered his face with his hands, and crouched down with his back to the crowd. He could never have imagined that his secret rendezvous would be caught by the concert cameras and broadcast for all to see. He certainly never imagined that a fleeting 15 seconds at a foreign concert would become a spark that would start a wildfire, igniting an uproar across the entire Chinese internet in less than an hour. The clip went viral on mainstream Chinese social media platforms, becoming a phenomenon. Netizens joked, they're either cheating or just really shy. In the short clip, the 8-figure Richard Mille watch on Daniel's wrist was impossible to miss. As his wife, I had no idea he was that wealthy. It seemed he had been preparing for the divorce for a long time, hiding assets. His current net worth was far beyond what I had imagined, and clearly not under his name. Once abroad, thinking no one was watching, he and Sophia had become reckless and extravagant. Netizens pointed out his watch, wondering which rich list he was on, without my hired team having to do anything. Some eagle-eyed netizens quickly identified Daniel, CEO of a foreign-owned corporation, a young and brilliant rising star in the industry, married. His past press releases about being a devoted husband and loving father, and speeches at charity galas were dug up and used to slap him in the face. becoming perfect material for irony. Hashtags like cheating scumbag kisses mistress at concert and CEO affair live broadcast instantly dominated the trending topics. The high-definition concert clip was reposted and remixed frantically. Views soared into the tens of millions. The intern, Sophia, was also identified. Screenshots of her flaunting her wealth and her suggestive social media posts were everywhere. The homewrecker label was permanently branded onto her. Netizens were furious. CEO using his position to take advantage of an intern. Scum. Making out on the big screen at a concert. That's the ultimate humiliation for his wife and child. Devoted husband persona shatters. The most disgusting cheater of the year. Someone should investigate his income. A CEO's salary is 7 figures at most. I heard he came from a poor background with no family money. How can he afford a $10 million Richard Mille? Is he using taxpayer money to support his mistress? A CEO of a foreign-owned company with this level of spending. The mistress buys Van Cleef Arpels, stays at the Grand Hyatt, and attends outrageously expensive concerts overseas. Is that compliant? Has it been audited? Guided by my PR team. Insider revealed that his wife came from a modest middle-class family and had been with him since university to support his career. She, a media graduate from a prestigious university, had quietly become the woman behind the man, sacrificing her own career for the family. Someone even found my social media account, filled with pictures of my husband and child. A picture of domestic bliss. The entire internet rallied in support of me. Go, Queen. Live your best life alone. Sister, dump that scumbag. The corporation where Daniel and Sophia worked found its official website and social media accounts flooded with angry comments. On the first-class flight back, Daniel's face was ashen, like a dead man's. Throughout the 10-plus-hour flight, messages from his assistant trickled in on his tablet, each one a hammer blow to his heart. Nationwide condemnation, a plummeting stock price, and an internal investigation by headquarters into whether he had abused his authority to provide Sophia with improper benefits. The traces of Sophia's ostentatious lifestyle on Instagram, the luxury gifts she flaunted, the high-end places they frequented, had all become evidence, further inflaming public anger. Seeing his grim face, Sophia burst into tears, timidly clutching the hem of his shirt. Honey, I didn't know this would happen. I just love you so much. I couldn't help but tell the world how good you are to me. Seeing the woman he loved crying so pitifully, Daniel couldn't bring himself to get angry. No matter how frustrated he was, he could only force himself to be patient. It's okay. It's not your fault. When we land, I'll have someone take you home first. I have things to take care of. The moment the plane landed, he didn't even wait for his luggage. Wearing sunglasses and a mask like a fugitive, he rushed through the VIP exit and drove straight home. When he pushed open the door, he didn't find the scene of crying and chaos he expected. The house was tidy, with a faint scent of lilies in the air. I was sitting on the living room rug, playing with blocks with our daughter. Sunlight streamed through the window, bathing us in a warm glow. A picture so serene it was jarring. Charlotte. Daniel's voice was hoarse with exhaustion from the long journey. He rushed over and dropped to his knees in front of me with a loud thud, startling our daughter, who hid in my arms. I was wrong, Charlotte. I was so wrong. But you have to help me this time. Tears and snot streamed down his face. He completely disregarded his image, reaching for my hand. But I subtly moved it away. He could only prostrate himself pathetically, his forehead almost touching the floor, his expensive suit wrinkled into a mess. I know it's all my fault. I've wronged you and the baby. I'm a bastard who couldn't keep it in his pants. I was out of my mind. But you have to help me this time. Daniel's incoherent repentance was an attempt to soften my heart. The last time he had knelt before me was 3 years ago when I first caught him cheating. He had knelt just like this, crying and telling me he would never betray me again. But in just a few short years, he had broken his promise. Charlotte, if you don't help me this time, I'll be ruined. For the sake of all our years together. For the baby's sake. He stopped abruptly, his bloodshot eyes turning to our daughter in my arms, grasping at his last straw. Baby, say, Dada. Quick, say, Dada. He reached out to hold our daughter. I finally reacted. I pulled our daughter behind me, using my body to block his outstretched hands. I felt no intense emotions, no anger, no sadness, just a profound, bottomless calm. My expression seemed to startle him. "Charlotte," he stammered. I picked up a nearby wet wipe and gently cleaned the tears from my daughter's frightened face, soothing her with soft words. Only then did I look up again, my gaze falling on the pathetic, kneeling figure of Daniel, and I realized I didn't love him at all anymore. In my eyes, he was now just a disgusting piece of trash that had nothing to do with me. "Daniel," I sneered, "are you done with your sob story?" For a fleeting moment, I had actually thought he had come back because the online backlash had woken him up, that he was a prodigal son returning. I had even briefly considered letting bygones be bygones. But he wasn't asking for my forgiveness, nor was he asking for another chance. He was just begging me to help him. Sure enough, Daniel choked for a second, then slowly got up and sat on the sofa, running his hands through his hair in exhaustion. "Charlotte, you must know that Sophia and I were caught by the concert cameras. I don't know why it blew up like this. Right now, you're the only one who can help me. Can you release a statement to explain things for me?" I scoffed, looking at him as if he were a stranger. "Explain? Explain what? That you didn't cheat? Or that you don't have a massive amount of unexplained wealth?" Daniel's face stiffened for a moment, but he pressed on. "Can you tell everyone that we had been separated for a long time and were planning to divorce? But we kept it quiet for our daughter's sake. I want to minimize the damage to Sophia's reputation as much as possible." Hearing this, I frowned in confusion. Daniel was not a loyal person. I didn't believe he would value Sophia more than his career and reputation. He looked down, unable to meet my eyes, and sighed. "Sophia's pregnant. We had it confirmed when we were abroad. It's a boy." A sour, constricting pain shot through my heart. It hurt so much I could barely breathe. So that was why Daniel had so readily given up custody of our daughter. It was because Sophia was carrying the son he had always longed for. How ironic. I had used one child to painstakingly save my marriage, and Sophia had used another to completely destroy it. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. "So you asked for a divorce because she was pregnant. You couldn't delay it any longer." Daniel avoided my suddenly sharp gaze and confessed, as if he had nothing left to lose. "The doctor said I had a low sperm count. Her pregnancy is a miracle. Charlotte, Sophia is so young. An abortion would be too hard on her body. I have to be responsible for her and the child. I was originally planning to part with you on good terms." "Good terms?" I snorted. Daniel nodded, clutching his hair in anguish. "I know I've wronged you and our daughter. I can give you more in the asset division. I can leave with nothing. I will never be late with child support. As long as you help me this one time. If you're willing to step forward and speak for me, this whole thing will blow over quickly. There's so much news online every day. People won't stay focused on me forever." Daniel had finally given in, offering to leave with nothing. But I didn't feel the excitement I had expected. I realized now that what I wanted was more than just him leaving with nothing. A deeply ironic smile curved my lips. I slowly stood up, looking down at the haggard man on the sofa, wagging his tail and begging for mercy for another woman and her child. The last trace of warmth in my heart turned to ice. I picked up the divorce papers he had given me from the coffee table, and without a glance, I tore them to shreds and scattered them at his feet. Daniel stared at me, aghast. "Daniel, do you take me for a fool?" My voice was quiet, but every word was crystal clear. "I don't care how much dirty money you've hidden away. I want 10 million. As soon as the money is in my account, I'll go with you to finalize the divorce. The statement you need won't be a problem either." Daniel was speechless, staring at me in disbelief. "Charlotte, I never knew you were this kind of person. After all our years together, you're kicking me when I'm down." I sneered. "Daniel, the one thing we have no right to talk about is our history. When you got Sophia pregnant, when you let her openly provoke me, when you took her to a concert overseas to show her off and slap me in the face, did you ever think about our history then?" My calm questions left him speechless. His bravado crumbled, and he sagged back against the sofa, covering his face with his hands, his shoulders slumping. Just as he was about to speak, his phone rang again. When he answered, Sophia's petulant voice came through. "Honey, why aren't you back yet? They say that if the father isn't around during pregnancy, The baby won't be healthy. Do you want our baby to be born healthy or not? After he hung up, I watched him coolly, waiting. He wiped his face, his voice heavy with pain. Fine. I agree. An hour later, I received a transfer of $10 million from Daniel, and he got the divorce certificate he wanted. As we parted ways outside the registry office, Daniel looked at me dejectedly. Charlotte, I know you. You'll keep your word, right? I smiled, a hint of mockery in my eyes. Of course. Half an hour later, I posted a statement on my verified personal account. After a long period of emotional estrangement, Mr. Daniel Hayes and I have, after careful consideration, decided to end our marriage. I am grateful for the past and wish him well. My daughter, Maya, will be under my care. I thank Mr. Hayes for voluntarily waiving his visitation rights. Image 1. Signed waiver. The division of assets followed a supplementary agreement signed by both parties. The $10 million divorce settlement has been donated in its entirety to a charity for underprivileged children. Image 2. Donation receipt. Also, Miss Sophia, I am returning the father of your unborn child to you. You need not worry about me in the future. A new chapter of my life begins. I only hope Mr. Hayes will conduct himself with dignity. The post included a gallery of high-definition photos, all screenshots of Sophia's provocative messages to me. The internet exploded. The divorce statement of the year shot to the top of the trending lists. Netizens called me graceful on the surface, but every word is a killing blow. The intimate photos in the chat logs were irrefutable proof. Sophia was nailed to the pillar of shame as a vicious, manipulative homewrecker, publicly scorned and condemned. All her social media accounts were overrun. Netizens dug up every detail of her past, from her flaunting of wealth to her history of collecting men. At this point, even if Daniel tried to explain that the multi-million-dollar watch on his wrist was just a replica, no one would believe him. He was universally condemned as a morally corrupt and decadent figure. His reputation was in ruins. The public called for the headquarters of the foreign company where he worked to launch an investigation. Daniel's personal scandal had severely damaged the corporation's image. The overseas parent company took the matter very seriously, dispatching an investigative team and pressuring the domestic board of directors. Facing immense pressure, the board immediately initiated crisis management, swiftly announcing the termination of both Daniel and Sophia to cut ties and quell the public outcry. With his reputation in tatters, it was now nearly impossible for Daniel to hold a senior executive position at any reputable foreign or large-scale corporation again. His career had suffered a devastating blow. A netizen snapped a photo of him, unwilling to give up, trying to appeal at his former company, only to be blocked at the door by security. He reached out to former partners, investors, and old classmates, but everyone avoided him like the plague. In just a few days, he was no longer the sought after Mr. Hayes. He had experienced social death and the end of his career, falling from the clouds into an abyss of disgrace and abandonment. As for Sophia, in his eyes, she had likely transformed from true love to a harbinger of disaster. The playful tantrums he once adored now only irritated him. There was no affection left. Daniel wasn't a fool. Once he calmed down, he naturally figured out that the rapid spread of the concert video was the result of manipulation. When he returned home again, he was unshaven, his expensive suit as wrinkled as a dish rag, his eyes bloodshot. He had been rejected from every job he applied for. Even the headhunters who used to bow and scrape before him were now mocking him. He threw his coat violently to the floor. Charlotte, what the hell do you want? His voice was hoarse, filled with the desperation of a caged animal. The concert video was your doing, wasn't it? You hired the online trolls, didn't you? You want to destroy me. I didn't even look up. I calmly asked the nanny to take our daughter downstairs to play for a while. Once we were alone, I let out a soft laugh. You're joking, Mr. Hayes. Weren't you the one who was willing to abandon your wife and child and leave with nothing for your love with Miss Sophia? I just let the whole world see your beautiful love story. What's wrong with that? Enough. Daniel grabbed my wrist, his eyes boring into mine. Stop pretending. I know it was you. You hate me for cheating, so you're getting revenge. Charlotte, Do you have to be so ruthless? No matter what. I'm still the baby's father. Did you even consider her when you were taking your revenge? You won't even leave me a way out. I wrenched my arm free and looked at him with a cold sneer. Daniel, from the moment you abandoned our baby, you were no longer her father. When you were out cheating with other women, did you ever think about her? You brought all of this on yourself. You thought you could live on love alone, didn't you? Well, Daniel, I'd like to see if your precious Sophia will wait for you to make a comeback when you have nothing left. Daniel was stunned for a moment. Just as he was about to speak again, a knock on the door interrupted him. I opened it to find a group of people in economic crime investigation uniforms. They looked past me to Daniel, their faces stern. Mr. Hayes, your former company has filed a report against you for multiple economic crimes, including embezzlement, breach of fiduciary duty, money laundering, and insider trading. Please come with us to assist with the investigation. Staring at the arrest warrant in the officer's hand, Daniel was so shocked he could barely stand. Who reported me? I didn't do it. This is slander. His eyes suddenly fell on me, and he yelled in horrified realization. It was you, Charlotte. It must have been you again. I didn't deny it. I just watched as he was dragged away, screaming hysterically. I closed the door without a trace of mercy. It was indeed me who had reported him. Daniel was cautious. He kept all his criminal records on a portable hard drive, having long since wiped the originals from his computer. I knew he had a habit of archiving important documents since college. While he and Sophia were off playing lovers at the concert overseas, I had opened his safe and retrieved the evidence of his financial crimes. That was why I had insisted the camera crew get a clear shot of his ring and watch. After all, he was someone I had loved for many years. Since we were young, I hadn't originally wanted to burn everything to the ground. It was he and Sophia who had repeatedly crossed my line, leaving me no choice but to abandon any hope of an amicable separation. In that case, a mere suspension or termination was far from enough. I wanted to utterly destroy the halo and foundation upon which he had built his life. I wanted him to pay the price of being crushed to dust for what he called true love and responsibility. After Daniel was taken away by the police, I went straight to the love nest he had bought for Sophia. What are you doing here? Sophia cradled her flat stomach, taking a wary step back. I'm carrying Daniel's son. If you hurt me, he'll never forgive you. I scoffed inwardly at her naivety, at her assumption that I would be so childish as to come here for a catfight. Relax. I'm a civilized person. I won't touch you. I leaned against the doorway, tapping my fingers on the marble console. I just came to see what kind of house Daniel would buy for someone he dotes on so much. It's beautiful. What a shame. Sophia's red lips curved into a smug smile. A shame that you're jealous. But it won't do you any good. Daniel obviously loves me. This house is in my name. You can't prove it's your marital property. I chuckled. Is that so? You don't know, do you? This house won't be yours for much longer. I covered my mouth in mock surprise. What? Aren't you Daniel's beloved? Has no one told you yet that he's been arrested? He bought this house with the company's overseas reserve funds. The board and the police are investigating it. Soon, this house will be repossessed as an illicit gain. I'd advise you to start making other arrangements if you don't want to end up sleeping on the street. Sophia's expression changed, but she quickly lifted her chin in a show of defiance. Stop trying to scare me. That's impossible. It's only a few million. A corporation that big wouldn't make a fuss over such a small amount. Don't try to drive a wedge between me and Daniel. He's just temporarily unemployed. He'll find a new job soon. I knew why Sophia wasn't worried about Daniel being fired. Why she was still shopping and buying luxury goods without a care in the world. It was because she thought that even if he lost his job, the tens of millions in hidden assets were more than enough for them to live lavishly. I didn't expose her delusion. I just said, you probably know better than I do how many illegal things Daniel has done. Why don't you try calling him? Sophia doubtfully called Daniel's number. It went unanswered several times. She then called his former assistant and finally confirmed that he was indeed under investigation for multiple economic crimes and had been taken into police custody, with conclusive evidence and complete transaction records. His prognosis was grim. Sophia clutched her stomach, her face pale as she stood frozen in place. She slumped against the wall, sliding to the floor, and began to cry hysterically. It's all your fault. You venomous witch. Charlotte, you're the one who started all this online. That's why the company turned on him. You're so evil. You'll die a horrible death. Her makeup was ruined. Her face contorted in a hideous snarl. I just calmly took her chin in my hand and lifted it. So, this is your type. Daniel. Truly per taste. You love him so much. You should probably start thinking about what you can do to save him. Daniel's mother called me, begging me to use the money from the divorce to save her son. I refused. The money I received was all from Daniel's legitimate, legal salary. Not a single dirty cent. This is what I deserve. He was the one who betrayed our marriage, who abandoned me and our child. As for the illegal gains, I suggest you talk to Sophia. She's carrying your family's child. After all, Daniel's mother hesitated. Even if she used all her money to bail Daniel out, what then? He would likely never be able to earn that much money again. And economic crimes usually only resulted in a few years in prison anyway. After weighing the pros and cons, she gave up. A few days later, Daniel's lawyer contacted me, saying Daniel wanted to see me. This time, I agreed and went willingly. The moment he saw me, tears streamed down Daniel's face. Charlotte, I'm sorry. Please. I'm begging you. Save me. I know you hate me. It's all my fault. If I can just get out, I'll do everything I can to make it up to you and the baby. Can you just fill the financial hole? Then the company will drop the charges. I'll be your slave for the rest of my life. I shook my head. Daniel, you know how much money you gave me. How could I possibly fill a hole that big? You should have known this day would come when you were hiding all that illegal income from me. Daniel hung his head in defeat. I was just desperate. But I can't find Sophia anywhere. All my money is in her name. The hatred in my heart intensified. He had only known Sophia for a few months. Yet he loved her enough to transfer all his money to her. Daniel, you really are a great romantic. But I didn't question him. The answer was meaningless to me now. I just looked at him with mockery. Of course you can't find her. She's already had an abortion and fled the country with the money. If I'm not mistaken, she probably won't dare to come back. Daniel was stunned, his face a mask of gray despair. I then pulled out a stack of photos of Sophia with other men, delivering the final blow. Daniel, during the time Sophia was with you, you weren't her only man. So don't be too upset. That child might not have even been yours. After all, with your low sperm count, it's not that easy to get a woman pregnant. Oh, and by the way, my daughter has nothing to do with you either. When you were cheating, I was in so much pain that I had a few encounters with another man. Daniel stared at me, his eyes burning with an intensity one had never seen before. Then, his expression twisted into a hysterical rage, a raw pain and fury I had never witnessed. Charlotte, you bitch. We were together for so many years. How could you betray me? I watched his ugly, contorted face with a sense of cold satisfaction. Daniel, what right do you have to accuse me? You were the one who cheated first. I was just giving you a taste of your own medicine. I thought we could call it even. One betrayal each. And then move on. But you deceived me again. So everything that has happened today, you brought upon yourself. I originally just wanted a divorce and my share of the assets. It was you two who kept pushing my buttons, forcing me to show no mercy. Did you really think Sophia loved you? She only loved your money. And you were foolish enough to put it all in her name. This is your karma. You deserve it. Visiting hours were over. I left with a sneer, leaving Daniel to his utter despair. In truth, apart from Sophia having an abortion and running off with the money, everything else was a lie. The photos of her with other men were photoshopped. My claim that I had cheated on him and that he wasn't Maya's father was something I made up on the spot. Perhaps one day he would learn the truth. But what I wanted was for him to suffer sleepless nights in prison. I wanted him to realize that his life had been an utter failure, to question his very existence. I paid a handsome sum to a highly skilled gigolo to go abroad and get close to Sophia, under the professionally trained barrage of his charms. Sophia, unable to bear the loneliness, succumbed. At my instruction, she was gradually introduced to gambling. It didn't take long for her to lose the entire fortune Daniel had left her. At that point, the gigolo disappeared. With no other options, Sophia was forced into prostitution to pay off her debts. I later heard that she died in a foreign country, at the hands of a client with sadistic tendencies. Not long after, Daniel's verdict came down. 15 years for multiple offenses. I wasn't at the sentencing. I was afraid I would laugh out loud and be held in contempt of court. Daniel's former position as CEO had provided him with a substantial legitimate income, and I had always been good at managing finances, accumulating considerable wealth. Now, I'm using that money to travel the world with my daughter. Life is full of vibrant new energy.